Hey y'all, and welcome to Monter's Market, and welcome to my Trash to Treasure garbage find flips video. I am going to show you what I pulled literally out of the garbage and made into beauties, and then I am going to introduce you to this gorgeous photo album and the company that sent it to me. But for now, let's get into DIY number one, and we'll get back to that in a few minutes, y'all. Look at this. Are you kidding me? This thing is 24 inches long. 24 inches long and 15 inches, well, let me rephrase that, 24 inches wide and 14 inches tall. So this is literally door cabinets that I found on the street corner in someone's trash. They were laying right on the top of a closed garbage can. There were 4 of them, and I knew trash was running that day at the place I was going to, and I was like, you know what, I better get them right now because they're not going to be there when I get back. So I grabbed all 4 of them for free. And it just so happened that I had just ordered me some of this salt wash. Now, I'm a little aggravated at myself that I wasn't in camera here, but you're really not going to miss anything. But that salt wash is a powder that you mix with any kind of paint. You mix it together and you make like a paste, or like I think mine was a little too thick. It still worked beautifully anyway, but it should like kind of drip off of the end of your stick, and mine was a little bit thicker than that, but it actually worked very pretty. Now I'm going to be using that moss paint by Waverly that I just showed you, and I mixed the salt wash in with my paint, and that's me just kind of wiping everything down. When you take the salt wash, you put it on this brush that came with it, and you want to dab, and just like dab it all over everything. And you want to make those little peaks right there, those little things that are sticking up in the air. You want it to be like that. So whenever I was putting it on, I thought, you know what? I don't even need to cover this because it was actually beautiful just like that. Look at that. But anyway, just before it gets dry, when it's like still a little tacky, you want to take the sanding block that comes with it and sort of just knock those peaks down. You don't want to sand too much. Now, I didn't want to waste any salt wash on the bottom of it because you're not going to see the bottom of it. So I literally just flipped it over once that was dry and painted it with this moss paint with no salt wash in it. So once that dried and I flipped it back over, I went in with some white Waverly chalk paint, and I just gave it one really good coat of chalk paint all over the top. Again, I'm not going to like waste a whole bunch of paint that nobody's going to see on the bottom of this tray. And that's what I'm turning this old cabinet door into, is a gorgeous tray that you just saw. So I'm just going to take the white Waverly chalk paint, I'm going to cover the whole thing, and once we get it covered and let it dry, I set it aside and let it dry. Actually, I think I let it dry overnight, but I made sure that I got I did to paint the bottom white. I don't know why I forgot I did that. But anyway, painted the bottom white, but I did not use the salt wash. That's what it was. I didn't use the salt wash. I did paint the bottom though, as you see, which really helps when you go to sand it down, because then you see both of those colors on the bottom, just like you do on the top. But anyway, once I got it all painted with that white Waverly chalk paint, I here we go, and we ain't even 5 minutes into the freaking video. Getting tongue-tied. Anyway, I gave it 2 coats, and then once it dried, watch the magic, y'all. I'm taking a sanding block, and I am sanding down all over this whole entire door front. And when you do that, that salt wash on the bottom breaks through that. Look at that stuff flying everywhere. It breaks through the paint, and it is just beautiful. Now, I wanted to take a little bit more of that moss green and just dress it up a little bit, because I didn't have the proper sponge, sanding sponge, so I couldn't get enough of that white paint off. But you'll see in the end, it's gorgeous, just the way it is. But I did want a little bit more of the green showing, so I took that moss and just barely distressed all over it. You see, I didn't get real heavy-handed at all. I just sort of hit the high spots and gave it a little bit more green to look at. Then I also took some antique wax and went in and did basically the same thing I'm doing with the moss here, and I just sort of distressed it kind of all over and gave it a little bit of depth and dimension. So now I'm going to take Mod Podge, and y'all, I am going to put the most gorgeous tissue paper on here that you have ever seen. I got it from Amazon. I will leave it linked below. Now both of these sheets, they are huge. They are actually made to go one on top of the other to make like this big whole huge piece. However, I didn't need the whole thing on here because I'm just going to do the middle of my tray. But is that not stunning? It is so pretty. So what I did is I got it kind of where I wanted the prettiness of that print, and that's where I decided to sort of mark where I was going to cut it at. And then I cut it. Now this is called tissue paper, but it's super thick. It's more like a dryer sheet would feel. Like you can't, you know, tear it too easy, but yet you can tear it if you pull hard enough. Same with this. And all you do is you put some Mod Podge down or some polyacrylic or whatever other clear medium that you want to use to put it down with. But for me, I'm using the Mod Podge, and I put it all over the bottom, a good generous coat, laid this down. And what I loved about it is it's thick, so thick that it didn't just wrinkle all to pieces like tissue paper does. There was not one single wrinkle in this thing. And once I got it down, then I took more Mod Podge, went not only all over the top of my tissue paper, but also all over the whole entire piece itself to get it all sealed in and to give it a really nice finish that was consistent all around the whole piece. And look at how beautiful that is coming together already for free, other than of course my tissue paper that I've had for quite a while. I'm just going to show you a little quickie look. Y'all, is that not beautiful? Look at the salt wash cracking through that white paint, y'all. It is just stunning. Absolutely beautiful. Oh, I love it. Love it. I just wanted to show you that before I went on to the next step. But isn't that just beautiful? Again, it'll be linked below. So the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to take this gorgeous mold here. All of this, like I said, will be linked in my Amazon storefront below in the description box. Then I took my absolute favorite DOS clay. Y'all, this stuff is so easy to work with. It's so soft. I have made so many things with this particular block, and I've only used half of it. And I mean, I've used a lot of it. You know what I mean? Made a lot of things with it. And there is still a half a block to make tons and tons more. So it's amazing quality, and it's a great bargain. Anyway, I'm going to use these little ornamental pieces right here because I just thought that tray needed a little bit of something else. So I almost did it on the top and the bottom, but then I thought no, because that's going to be too much. You know what I mean? So once it was dry, I took all three paints and I just sort of give it, you know, pretty decent coat of the moss, but on the same hand, I didn't cover it 100%. Then I took some of the white Waverly chalk paint in between, you know, like once it dried, took some white Waverly chalk paint and put on top of the green, just sort of dabbed it on there. And then so that it all mixed together and blended together, I took a little bit of the antique wax and sort of hit the high spots on it to bring it all together with the same paint theme that was already on the tray. And I'm so glad that I added this I was a little bit torn about whether I should add it or not, but I was tickled to death whenever it was done, and it just added this little flair of elegance to it that, oh my gosh, I just love it. And every time I would get to another spot to where I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty, oh that's even better, like I just kept thinking, and it was free, and it was free. Everything else that I'm using on this tray I already had at home in my stash, and did not have to buy one single thing to make this tray. And I'm telling you right now, as big as this sucker is, I would be willing to buy it off of Etsy or somewhere myself, knowing it was handmade like this, and I would give a good $80 easy without even hesitating, because it's solid wood. It's not particle board. Even the insert on the, where the tray part is, that is all solid wood. So it, I mean, $80 would be a bargain. But look at these gorgeous handles. Now, I got these again off of Amazon quite a while back, and I've never found anything that I wanted to use them on. But this I thought was perfect for those handles, because they're so fancy and elegant. And in my opinion, this whole tray is fancy and elegant. So I measured out where I wanted to put my handles on. I screwed my pilot holes in, and then I switched out my tips for the bigger tip to, go in, because you want to do a pilot hole first to make your hole, because well, for me, it's easier that way. I guess I could have used the tip that I needed, but I would have drilled and drilled and drilled, and save yourself some time and aggravation by doing a little pilot hole, then switching your tip out and going back in and using the right one. Now I'm simply going to attach my handles. Once my handles are attached, this little gorgeous mama is done, and it was free. Other than, like I said, the things that I had already bought in the past and already had it in my stash. So I'm going to consider it free. But to me, it's just so beautiful and so elegant and so fancy. Like, I would love to show this at any event or like party or whatever, and serve maybe some crackers and cheese and grapes and wine or whatever. I don't personally drink wine, but it would be pretty on the tray if you are a wine drinker. But look at how beautiful that salt wash made that wood. I am obsessed with this salt wash, y'all. I am not being sponsored. They did not send that to me. I bought it myself, but I am that much in love with the salt wash. Look at those handles, y'all. Are those things not just screaming fancy? I love it. Look at how pretty these are. Now, I told you in the beginning of the video that I was going to tell you about these little photo albums, and I'm about to tell you about them because I'm so in love with these photo albums. But I just want to give you one little last shot of my gorgeous tray. So let me tell you about these beautiful photo albums real quick. They look absolutely stunning anywhere you put them. I placed one on my kitchen table so that when my guest or my family come over and sit down at the table while they're waiting on me to serve up dinner, they can just grab the photo album. Or if they will be in the living room watching TV together, they can reach over, grab this one, and just start going through pictures and reminiscing about when they were younger. These things are so amazing. The photo albums come with 60 pages, and they can hold up to an 8x10 photo on each page. So you could actually put 60 8x10s in one album. They're acid-free, PVC-free, and they also are waterproof, and they actually protect your pictures from the oxidization like the older ones do, how they turn all yellow and everything. And then when you go to peel back the plastic, I've actually had it tear a lot of my pictures in the past, and I lost some very special pictures that were very sentimental to me. This will not do that. It is made of a newer, more up-to-date material that will keep your pictures protected for a long, long time. I had so much fun putting my pictures in and writing little notes beside it for my kids and grandkids and even my great-grandkids, so that when they look back at it, they'll kind of know what was going on at the time. And on several of them, I actually put our ages or their ages whenever, like however old they were during the time that the picture was made. Now, these right here, those two on the top right, are me and my husband both at 17. So that's really neat. And then that one is my husband walking my daughter down the aisle to give her away. But anyway, I'm not going to tell you what each one of our pictures are, but let me tell you something. My husband even joined in, the best time sorting through our old pictures. These were in a plastic sandwich bag in my nightstand, and I've needed to get a photo album for a long time, but the ones that I've always had turn yellow, and like I said earlier, sometimes it gets stuck, you can't pull it off, and then you ruin your picture. And I was always too scared to put my pictures in an album. Now that I have these and I know they'll be protected forever, it felt so good to sit down and put them in the album and fill them up. These are the two colors I got, this pretty green and this gorgeous blue. And like I said, they're made out of linen. They are beautiful and super soft, and I love them. I truly do love them, and I want to thank Veinrose for sponsoring today's video. I am going to leave a link down in the description box for you to go get you one. Like I said earlier, they come in several different sizes, several different colors, with several different page counts. So I'm sure you'll find one or two or three that's right for you. Now let's get into DIY number 2. For DIY number 2, I'm going to take another door front, take those little things right there off, and we don't need those anymore, and I'm just going to put them to the side. I actually kept them because you just never know when you're going to need something like that. Y'all probably think I'm crazy for keeping all this stuff, but it is what it is, and I kept it. Now for this one, after I got it all cleaned up, I just went in with the white Waverly chalk paint. I did not use the salt wash on this one because I didn't want them exactly alike. As a matter of fact, they couldn't be more different whenever you see them. So I'm going to take the white Waverly chalk paint, give it 2 good coats of paint on the top and on the bottom, and give it a little facelift. I am so excited, or honestly, I'm stunned that I took 2 pieces of wood that I found in the trash and turned them into these gorgeous, gorgeous trays. And like I said with the first one, I wouldn't mind throwing down $80 for either one of these trays because they are big. Like I said, they're solid wood, and the designs to me are just beautiful. So anyway, after I got my second coat of Waverly chalk paint on this one and let it dry, you want to make sure that your paint is really, really dry in between each coat, or at least I like to do that because to me, I just get a better outcome whenever I let it dry in between. If they're still wet when I'm trying to paint it, a lot of times I will pull my paint back up. You know what I mean? Like I'm just running the paint across it, thinking it's dry, and it's not. And instead of painting and laying paint down, I'm actually pulling up, and then it glops. Then it leaves a big hole, and then you have to go back and do all this other crap and sand it down and whatever. But anyway, these are some little pieces that I got off of Temu on one of my Temu hauls, and I thought they were beautiful, but I don't like that bright, bright gold. So what I did is I took these 4, I don't even know what they're called, like little ornamental pieces, and I painted them and made them match some little feet that I also got from Temu that I'm going to show you. And I showed those to you in my Temu haul, and I knew I could make them match good enough that I could put them kind of close to each other. So I'm just going to lay out my little gold pieces, and I'm going to take my antique wax by Waverly and some of that black chalk paint that you can get, chalkboard paint rather, that you can get from the Dollar Tree. First thing I'm going to do is paint them black. Then I'm going to go back over the top of it with some of the antique wax, and I'm just going to sort of dab it on all over and sort of, I don't know, just distress it up a little bit. And then I'm going to set them aside, let them dry. Or no, I didn't. I used my heat gun. And then once I did that, I took a sanding block and sort of sanded off a little bit so some of that gold would peek back through, because if you look at the little legs, the gold is still peeking through that antique brass look. And I thought they turned out pretty good. I thought I got them pretty close to matching. Now this is some more burlap that I got at the Dollar Tree. I am obsessed with this stuff, guys. There is so much that you can do with this. Now, if you watched one of my videos, 3 or 4 videos back, you saw me take a little bit of this and do it on a small tray, and I wanted to do it on a bigger scale. Now, let me show you a little trick I learned from Crafting Cousins. You find a little piece, you pull it out, and it gives you the perfect cutting line for your burlap. Is that not brilliant? Thank you, girls. I was so tickled to find that little shortcut to cutting burlap. And I got my piece cut as big as I wanted it. And then I did the same thing with this as I did with my tissue paper on the first one. I got some Mod Podge. I laid a decent coat of Mod Podge in the middle. And then I laid my burlap down. And I went back and I put more Mod Podge on the top, as well as all over the edges to give it, you know, one good uniform coat, and to finish it and seal everything, seal the paint in, get that burlap, you know, like sealed in. And once we've done that, we're ready to go with decorating it in other ways. Now, I couldn't quite get the burlap straight, and I wish what I would have done is cut my burlap and got it like I wanted it before I put it down. But anyway, so I struggled a little bit with trying to get it right. But anyway, it ended up going just fine. And as you can see, it worked out perfectly. So now's where I'm going to doll it up and make it gorgeous. Y'all, I'm so in love with this transfer. It's a Honeybee Farm Wildflower Honey transfer from Chalk Couture. I'm going to use some ink because we're doing it on fabric. This is the Pesto, my favorite farmhouse green. And I am going to chalk it, or ink it, as we say, onto my burlap. I'm just going to do the middle piece because that's really the only part that needs to be done. So I'm going to measure it, make sure I get everything right and everything's where it should be, and then I'm going to ink my design on. Now, like we've said in the past, when you're using any kind of fabric, 2 things: you don't have to fuzz your stencil, and you don't use paste, you use ink. Now, the ink is a little bit different in that you have to heat set it. So like with this, I'm going to use my heat gun, and I'm going to go over it several times until it sets that ink into the fabric. And if it were like a t-shirt or something, I would just use my press and press it on. But look at how beautiful this is, y'all. Now, it had some words on those stripes that I did not want showing, so I took a little bit of the ink on my tip end of my finger and I just filled it in. And look at that design. For whatever reason, bees are all the rage right now, again, like they were last summer. And I think this design is absolutely beautiful. But look how pretty those pieces. Now look at the bottom and then look at the top. That's a huge transformation, y'all. And I did that on all 4 corners. And once I got them on there, I added the little feet that I got from Temu and put little feet on it. Now, these will not have handles. It's just going to be like a tray that you would have, you know, like little feet. Now, it's not going to be very far off of the ground, but it's still a tray that is raised up with these little feet. Now, I just put some glue on there so that I could hold my little foot in place while I'm screwing my little screws in. So that's the reason you see me using a little bit of glue. It just held it in place, you know, like I said. So because I tried 2 or 3 times to hold it there and get it screwed in, and I kept dropping the screw, or I would drop the little foot piece or whatever, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to stick a little piece of glue here. Anyway, once I got it done, I took some of the antique wax and the moss green, and I went in and distressed it down. Now, I'm really kind of kicking myself now for distressing it down as heavy as I did, because when I looked back at it before I distressed it, I liked it so much better like that. So let me know down in the comments, do you like it after it's distressed, or should I have left it plain white? I very well may take the little feet and stuff off and go back and repaint the outside and take the distressing away. It just depends and sees what their decision is. But look at how pretty this one turned out. Look at those little feet. Isn't that cute? I love this so much. And you sure can't tell that it was once a piece of garbage, or at least I like the way it turned out. Well, let me know down in the comments, which one is your favorite? Is it the bee theme, the more simple theme, or is it that real pretty, very elegant peony and pink theme? I happen to think the peony one is my favorite because I'm a huge pink kind of girl. I love me some pink, but I do love the bees, and I think they both turned out really, really pretty. So I would love to know down in the comments two things. Which one of these trays is your favorite? And would you have left the distressing off of the one with the bees on it? So I'm just going to show you both of them kind of slow one more time, where you can get all of the pretty detail on both of them. Look at the gorgeous salt wash finish that was able to be achieved from just using a little bit of that salt wash in your paint. I love it. Again, not sponsored, but I'm in love with that product. And look at how gorgeous this one turned out. What else would you have done with these door fronts? Tell me that. That's another thing I would like to know. Other than making these trays, what is something that you would have done with it? Because I'm curious to know what else can I do with the other two that I have left. So I cannot wait to read down in the comments what ideas you would have for them. I think these both turn out cute, but there are a million ideas out there. So throw some at me, and I will pick a couple to actually do in a video in the next few weeks. So I want to say one more time, thank you to Veinrose for sponsoring today's video and sending me those gorgeous, beautiful photo albums. I will treasure them forever, and I know my family will treasure the pictures that I have put in them to pass down to them, because every time they go to pick up my old photo albums from when I was a little girl, they're all falling apart. The pages are falling apart, and like I said, if there's a picture in there that they want, they can't just peel it back and take the photo, because it's all stuck down to the back of the photo album. You can't get them out without tearing them up, and it just breaks my heart because there's so many precious memories in there. So I'm going to try to figure out a way to transfer those old ones, or the pictures from the older albums, into these newer ones. I'm definitely going to buy me some more, because I just truly fell in love with the photo albums. And that's something I do want to tell you. When I'm doing these different sponsorships, I'm going to tell you the truth, whether the company likes it or not. If something is flimsy, it doesn't work, or it breaks or whatever, that's exactly what you're going to hear from me. If I tell you I love a product, I truly love and believe in that product. And I'm not just doing it because it's a sponsored video. That you have my word on. And I will never do it. I will never compromise and tell you that I like something that I don't truly like, just to get a little bit of product to show you in a video. But anyway, I'm going to leave a link for everything that I have used today in the video that can be linked down in the description box below Go get you a couple of these photo albums. You will love them. And let me know what you think about these 2 trays. I will see you on the 20th. Well, I'll see you every Tuesday at 8 p.m. But I will also have an extra video coming out on the 20th. So I'll have 2 videos in 2 different days, which I really don't like doing, but I need to stay true to my OG group that we do every month on the 20th. So anyway, let me know which one of these are your favorite. Go grab you one of those gorgeous photo albums, and I will see you in the next video. As always, thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. Be blessed. Bye now.